What truly happens within our psyche when we finally abandon the desperate pursuit of someone we desire? This is the question we'll explore today through the profound discoveries of Carl Jung. Modern life conditions us to chase success, relationships, status. This constant external pursuit creates a pattern we unconsciously apply to our most intimate relationships. We chase those we desire with the same intensity we chase material goals, unaware of the complex psychological dynamics we're activating. Carl Jung, one of the greatest explorers of the human psyche, uncovered a fascinating paradox deep within our minds. What we obsessively pursue tends to flee, while what we release has a mysterious way of returning to our lives in new forms. This discovery isn't just psychological curiosity. It's a fundamental principle operating in the deepest layers of our being, affecting every aspect of our existence, especially our most significant relationships. Today, we'll unravel this Jungian mystery. We'll see how the act of stopping the chase isn't just relationship advice, but a profound internal transformation that redefines our relationship with ourselves and the world around us. This journey goes beyond superficial explanations. We'll explore the territories Jung mapped, the realm of the shadow, the path of individuation, the transformative power of emptiness, and the mysterious patterns of synchronicity that emerge when we finally release what we've been trying to control. What we discover together today won't just transform your understanding of relationships, it will offer a new perspective on the workings of your own soul. To truly understand what happens when we stop chasing someone, we must first grasp what Jung called the shadow, one of the deepest and most revealing concepts in his psychology. The shadow represents everything we don't acknowledge in ourselves, repressed, denied, or unknown aspects of our personality. It's the repository of traits we consider unacceptable or incompatible with our conscious self-image. When we obsessively chase someone, we rarely realize we're engaged in what Jung called projection, unconsciously casting aspects of our shadow onto that person. The object of our pursuit becomes a vessel for unrecognized parts of ourselves. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves, Jung wrote. This insight is key to understanding the dynamics of pursuit. The intensity of our desire often mirrors the intensity of our internal denial. Consider for a moment, what exactly do you see in this person you're chasing so intensely? Is it the freedom they represent? Their creativity? Their capacity for unconditional love? Jung would say these admired qualities are often unacknowledged aspects of our own being, parts of ourselves repressed over time. The paradox is that the more we chase these projections embodied in another, the more they tend to flee. It's like chasing a reflection in water. The harder we try to grasp it, the more it distorts and disappears. When we chase someone, we operate from a psychology of scarcity. Our pursuit communicates, "I need you to be complete. Without you, I'm insufficient." This energy of need and incompleteness creates psychological distance and often repels those we desire. So, what happens when we stop chasing? We begin what Jung called withdrawing projections, recognizing that what we desperately sought in another can, in fact, be found within ourselves. This is a painful, profound process. It requires facing our own shadow, the parts of ourselves we'd rather ignore. It means acknowledging that our obsession with another was largely a distraction from our own unintegrated psyche. When we stop chasing, we start asking, what am I truly seeking in this person? What parts of myself am I projecting onto them? What aspects of my own nature am I trying to access through them? This introspection marks the beginning of deep transformation, the first step in the Jungian journey of self-discovery. By withdrawing projections, we start seeing the other as they truly are, not as a vessel for our unmet desires, but as a separate being on their own unique journey. Jung observed in his clinical practice that withdrawing projections often led to clearer self-awareness and perception of others. Patients who recognized their projections reported feeling liberated, as if a weight had been lifted. This liberation occurs because, by stopping the chase, we take responsibility for our own psychological growth. Instead of seeking wholeness in another, we seek integration within ourselves. It's as if we tell our psyche, "I'll no longer seek outside what I must find within." This commitment marks the start of individuation, the process of becoming truly whole, integrated individuals. Individuation is perhaps the central concept in Jungian psychology, deeply connected to what happens when we stop chasing someone. This term, developed over decades of Jung's clinical work, refers to the process of becoming psychologically individual, complete, unique, and integrated beings. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, Jung wrote. This simple phrase holds a profound truth. Life's real journey isn't external, but internal. The process of discovering and integrating our most authentic nature. When we obsessively chase someone, we unconsciously abandon our own individuation path. We outsource our sense of completion to another, believing, I can't be whole on my own. I need this specific person to feel complete. This unconscious belief creates psychological dependency, stunting genuine growth. The chase becomes a way to avoid confronting our own perceived incompleteness, fears of inadequacy, and inner emptiness. Jung repeatedly observed that those desperately seeking wholeness through others often felt more fragmented and empty despite their efforts. External pursuit was paradoxically a movement away from the self. What happens when we finally stop chasing? Something remarkable unfolds. By abandoning external pursuit, we naturally redirect energy inward, marking the true beginning of individuation. The psychic energy once flowing outward now flows inward, activating internal growth and integration. Jung consistently observed this energetic reversal in his practice. The early stages of this inward journey can be uncomfortable. Without the distraction of pursuit, we're forced to confront aspects of ourselves we'd rather ignore: our fears, insecurities, repressed desires, and unrealized potential. Jung believed everyone contains all elements needed for wholeness. Drawing on alchemical metaphors, he described the psyche as a vessel where transformation occurs. When we stop chasing, we create this sacred vessel within ourselves. Individuation is a lifelong journey, but stopping the chase is the crucial first step, turning attention inward. A fascinating aspect of this process is what happens to relationships when we genuinely embark on individuation. Jung noted a curious phenomenon. As patients stopped seeking wholeness through others and focused on inner integration, their relationships often transformed unexpectedly. The former pursuer, now centered in self-development, begins radiating authenticity, a magnetism not based on need, but on resonance between individuals on their own wholeness journeys. It's as if the psyche has its own gravity. The more integrated it becomes, the more it naturally attracts what aligns with its true nature. This explains the paradox. When we stop chasing someone, that person, or someone embodying similar qualities more harmoniously, often re-enters our lives. Jung explained this through the self, the organizing center of the total psyche, constantly guiding us toward wholeness. When our conscious actions align with this innate drive, we create a psychological magnetic field, attracting experiences and relationships that support our individuation. Thus, stopping the chase isn't resignation. It's an act of faith in life's growth process. It's recognizing a deeper wisdom operating through our psyche, guiding us toward our most complete, authentic expression. This is perhaps individuation's greatest paradox. We must be willing to stand alone to form authentic connections. In the space created when we stop chasing, our true nature emerges. And it's this authenticity that fosters the deepest, most fulfilling relationships. When we stop chasing someone, we inevitably face emptiness. This isn't just the absence of the desired person or the cessation of pursuit. It's a profound psychological state Jung recognized as having immense transformative potential. Modern culture struggles with emptiness. We fear voids, filling every moment with activity, entertainment, or social interaction. Silence unsettles us. Solitude frightens us. We constantly seek distractions to avoid confronting emptiness. Jung, however, held a radically different view. Influenced by Eastern philosophies and Western alchemy, he saw emptiness not as something to avoid, but as fertile ground for psychic transformation. Emptiness is not nothing. There's nothing to fear. The fear of emptiness is itself the great illusion, Jung might have said, echoing ancient wisdom. To him, the emptiness experienced when we stop chasing isn't sterile or dead. It's a psychic womb, a field of infinite possibilities. Jung often used alchemical metaphors for psychological processes. In alchemy, the nigredo, or black work, was a stage of decomposition essential for transformation. Similarly, the emptiness felt when we stop chasing is psychological nigredo, a space where old patterns decompose, making way for new growth. When we obsessively chase someone, our psychic energy flows outward, creating constant energetic leakage. We're so focused on the external object of pursuit that we lose touch with internal resources. We neglect our own garden while desperately picking flowers from another's. When we stop, this outward flowing energy stays within. The apparent emptiness is actually a vessel filling with reclaimed vital energy. Jung called this the transcendent function, the psyche's ability to evolve through tension between opposites, our desire for the person versus our conscious decision to stop chasing. In this dynamic tension, something new emerges. This emptiness isn't passive, it's intensely creative. It's where meaningful dreams arise, unexpected insights appear, and synchronicities manifest. By creating this inner void, we allow the unconscious to communicate more directly and profoundly. Jung noted that patients who could tolerate and embrace this emptiness often reported profound renewal. Many described an initial sense of death, the death of the ego identified with pursuit, followed by psychological rebirth. This resembles what mystics call the dark night of the soul, a period of apparent desolation preceding expanded awareness. In stopping the chase, this dark night is when we face our emptiness without distraction. To consciously navigate this void, Jung recommended practices like active imagination, dream work, creative expression, and contemplating meaningful symbols. These serve as bridges between consciousness and the unconscious, accessing wisdom emerging from emptiness. One of Jung's deepest insights was that emptiness isn't truly empty. It's full of unmanifest potential, like an unplanted field, seemingly barren yet brimming with possibilities for new life. When we allow this emptiness without prematurely filling it with another pursuit, something extraordinary happens. The psychic energy once directed outward now works internally, often in ways we don't consciously perceive. It's like incubating an idea or gestating new life. Most work happens below consciousness. We simply create and maintain space for this inner work. This is emptiness's paradox. What seems like absence is actually full presence. What feels like death is actually gestation. By consciously embracing the void when we stop chasing, we participate in our own psychic transformation. One of Jung's most fascinating revolutionary concepts is synchronicity, meaningfully related events occurring without obvious causal connection. This principle is key to understanding what often happens when we stop chasing someone. Jung developed this idea with physicist Wolfgang Pauli, challenging strictly causal worldviews. Synchronicity suggests events connect not just through cause and effect, but through shared meaning, and a causal order underlying reality. Synchronicity isn't a causal connecting principle, Jung wrote. Synchronistic events coincide meaningfully, but can't be explained by conventional causality. How does this relate to stopping pursuit? Jung observed a striking pattern. When we stop obsessively chasing something or someone, we often experience surprising synchronicities related to what we've released. It's as if letting go creates psychic space for new configurations. By relinquishing control through pursuit, we allow a deeper ordering principle to operate. This phenomenon is known in popular wisdom. When you stop looking, you find. From a Jungian perspective, this isn't mere coincidence. It reflects how our psyche interacts with the world in ways transcending linear causality. What really happens when we stop chasing? Often, the person who fled may suddenly reappear unexpectedly, or we might meet someone embodying similar qualities more harmoniously with who we've become. Jung explained this through the relationship between individual and collective unconscious. Obsessive pursuit operates from the conscious ego, trying to control, manipulate, attain. This creates tension and resistance, both internally and relationally. When we stop chasing, the unconscious, with its deeper wisdom and connection to the collective unconscious, begins organizing experiences in ways the ego couldn't conceive. Our individual psyche enters a more harmonious dialogue with reality's larger matrix. Jung noted meaningful synchronicities often occurred during deep psychological transitions, particularly those linked to individuation. Stopping pursuit represents exactly such a transition, releasing old patterns and opening to new possibilities. What you resist persists. What you accept transforms, Jung might say. When we stop resisting someone's absence and fully accept our present situation, we create conditions for synchronistic transformation. This is pursuit's deep irony. We often repel what we most desire by the very act of chasing. Pursuit carries neediness, incompleteness, a void we expect another to fill. This energy distorts the relational field, unconsciously sensed by the other. When we stop chasing, this distortion dissolves. We become complete in ourselves. Paradoxically, this wholeness often attracts back what we once chased. But now, the relationship holds potential for greater health and balance. Jung would note this return isn't guaranteed, nor should it be the goal of relinquishing pursuit. The true goal is psychological integrity, individuation. But often, as a byproduct of this newfound wholeness, we experience synchronicities reconnecting us with what we once chased, or something even more aligned with our true being. These synchronicities aren't random. They're manifestations of what Jung called the unus mundus, one world, the unitary reality connecting psyche and matter. As our psyche integrates through withdrawn projections and individuation, we naturally relate more harmoniously with this unified reality. The pattern is consistent. What we obsessively chase flees. What we consciously release mysteriously returns transformed. This isn't magic, but a profound reflection of how our psyche interacts with the world. Jung was deeply influenced by medieval alchemy, not as literal metal-to-gold transformation, but as a symbolic system reflecting psychic transformation. Alchemy provides perfect metaphors for understanding what happens when we abandon pursuit. Alchemical transformation involves stages: nigredo, blackening; albedo, whitening; citrinitas, yellowing; and rubedo, reddening. Jung saw parallels with psychological transformation stages. Stopping pursuit corresponds to alchemy's solutio, dissolving rigid patterns, liquefying what was solid. It's a release, allowing old structures to dissolve so new ones can emerge. This dissolution is followed by coagulatio, reforming a new, more integrated structure. Freed from pursuit's fixation, the psyche reorganizes at a higher level of integration. What alchemists called opus contra naturam, work against nature, mirrors resisting the natural impulse to chase. It's against nature to renounce pursuit of what we desire, but this very resistance catalyzes deeper transformation. Jung noted this alchemical process isn't linear, but cyclical and spiral. We undergo multiple dissolution coagulation cycles, each deepening understanding and integration. The final paradox of alchemical release is that by relinquishing external pursuit, we discover the gold we desperately sought, not as external acquisition, but as internal realization. The true alchemical gold for Jung was the realized self, the psychic wholeness emerging through individuation. Just as alchemists couldn't force lead-to-gold transformation, but had to create conditions allowing natural unfolding, we can't force relational outcomes through pursuit. We can only create inner conditions for transformation and let the process unfold organically. The moment you stop chasing someone marks not merely a change in behavior, but the beginning of a profound alchemy of the soul, one that fundamentally reconfigures your relationship with both your inner world and outer reality. What unfolds is a sacred psychological sequence. First comes the sobering recognition that the magnetic pull you felt was never truly about the other person, but about the disowned fragments of yourself you'd projected onto them. This painful yet liberating awareness initiates the sacred work of individuation, that lifelong journey toward becoming psychologically self-contained, where your sense of completion blossoms from within rather than being demanded from without. In the fertile silence that follows this surrender, you'll discover what the alchemists called the vas insigne, the sacred vessel where transformation occurs. Here, in this hallowed emptiness, the energy once squandered on pursuit now turns inward, working its quiet magic beneath the surface of consciousness. It's in this space that synchronicities begin to appear, those meaningful coincidences that reveal the hidden intelligence operating behind the curtain of ordinary reality. This dissolution of old patterns mirrors the alchemical solve et coagula, the ancient rhythm of breaking down and rebuilding. The structures that once defined your attachments soften and reshape themselves, not through force of will, but through the organic wisdom of a psyche finally allowed to reorganize itself. What emerges isn't merely an absence of chasing, but the presence of a new way of being, one where relationships no longer come from hunger, but from wholeness. This journey moves not in straight lines, but in widening spirals, each cycle of release drawing you deeper into communion with what Jung called the self, that divine spark at the center of your totality. To stop chasing is to undergo one of life's most sacred deaths, the death of the ego that believed it needed something external to be complete. In its place arises something far more precious, the dawning realization that what you sought in another was always your own buried potential waiting to be reclaimed. Jung's timeless wisdom echoes through this transformation. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens. And in this awakening lies the greatest revelation of all, that the love, the wholeness, the belonging you chased so desperately was never lost, only forgotten. It waited patiently all along in the last place most of us think to look, within the depths of our own already complete being.